Lucy in Lithuania wants to talk about religiosity and spiritualism being a breeding ground of toxic positivity. So what do you mean by toxic positivity, and how do you see those two things feeding into that?
Well, toxic positivity is basically a belief that despite any circumstances, you have to have a positive mindset. So basically, if you have some set of beliefs, they try to be idealistic usually, and that basically breeds this maladaptive point of view, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a degree of truth to that. That if you believe that God will always bail you out, and you find yourself on a small boat in a rough sea, you're probably still going to get that boat swamped and sunk if you don't do something to keep yourself floating along. That would definitely be a toxic positive attitude that, oh, God will bail me out. I think we saw that, like I said earlier, with COVID. And all the preachers who said, you can't get COVID if you believe hard enough. And a lot of them ended up with COVID. So, yeah, I agree. I think it is a breeding ground of toxic positivity. Armin, what do you think?
Of course.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Lucy, it also seems like I'm actually going to steal this from you. That sounds like a very interesting term to use. But it also seems like, if I understood you correctly, it also seems like it's a way for you to take advantage of people. Especially by, religious governments or religious rulers, when they're not providing the services that they need to the people, or when people's situations are getting worse and worse and worse, you basically sell them this toxic positivity. You give them hope, you give them an afterlife, you basically tell them things are better, because they're in the tribe of God, or in the party of God, or God loves them, or the afterlife would be great, and they come and keep donating to the churches or to the theocracy or whatever, or they will keep supporting the people that are making their lives worse and worse and worse, because it might be worse in this life, but they're getting closer to God, and they're just getting happier even though their lives are getting worse. And this is a way for the authorities not actually taking care of their people, but acting like they're taking care of their people and convincing their people that things are actually good when they're not. Does that make sense? Like, it seems like a good toxic positivity seems like a really powerful weapon to take advantage of people, poor people especially.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's very true, and it is most important. Well, these days, I think, because some people are saying, like, you can pray an actual illness in your body away, but if you begin, I think that's not been addressed that much in these idealistic, any religion or spiritual beliefs, that your emotions and how you're feeling it's like okay to feel bad, because like I was a Christian for a long time, and it's basically, if you feel bad, something is wrong with you and you need to fix it because you're a bad person. You just need to pray the sadness away, basically, and not address it medically or with a professional or anything. It's a way to keep you in, like, selling sunshines and rainbows, basically, when life is not that.
Right. Yeah, that's actually true. It's very dangerous when you need professional help and you don't seek it, because you're actually talking to people, religious authorities, instead of people that could actually help you, and you basically get stuck in that trap, and you can't get out of it because you're convinced that you don't need anything. You don't need to go seek help because you think everything is the way that it's supposed to be. That is very dangerous. You're right.
Yeah, especially if you have a chemical imbalance or other defect in the brain where you actually need to get some help. Depression comes to mind.
Yes, I have first-hand experience with exactly this, but also it is like, even not in a religious sense. That's why I use both those words in my colors screening, is because many like spiritual beliefs that are also very idealistic and like, oh, if you just change your mindset and think about, oh, I'm actually not sad right now. And if I just get out of the sadness by myself, that's the exact same thing, basically.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
like,
go ahead.
yeah, meditation is actually the only useful thing I find for mental health, and kind of like spiritualism, but I haven't found anything else useful from being spiritual. Maybe like philosophical things, but it's
What is it?
yeah, that's
It
basically.
depends on what you mean by spiritual too, right?
Yeah, defining
depends what-
spirituality is very, very, very weird.
Yeah. Sometimes people can't define it very well. And that also kind of contributes to bad things happening with, or, inability to communicate what we mean by it. But I also find meditation helps. I have a rather severe case of ADD. And while I know many people with ADD who can't meditate, I found that it helps my ADD tremendously to be able to meditate. I don't claim to do it as well as somebody who is neurotypical, but I do it well for me. I do it better today than I did yesterday anyway. So, yeah, I agree. But it's not enough, right? Sometimes you just, you can't, so those folks with ADD who meditation doesn't help, I don't blame them, because it's part of their neurochemistry not to be able to do that. Mine is just not severe enough or conducive, either not severe enough or conducive to being mitigated by meditation. So for those who help, it's great. For those it doesn't, hopefully the medications help. But
yeah, meditation is good, obviously, but and it's a tricky thing, because you can go into church basically and have a real good time, and you worship the Lord, and it's great, and it also makes you feel better, but you can't 100% rely on help from an external source, but you can't 100% depend on only yourself. You should have support. It's like a walking stick, you can't, if you're crippled in your leg and you have a stick, then your muscles are still doing all of the work. The mind has to kind of heal itself. It's true.
Well,
but
for those that can, I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. There's neurochemistry that will not allow will not allow for someone to not use the stick of, in your case, the crutch of medication. They have to have the medication, just like somebody who doesn't have a leg needs to have a prosthetic leg if they're going to walk normally. Now they have other ways they can move themselves around, wheelchairs, etc. But going with the analogy of walking, they have to have that prosthetic. You've got to have something to help out. So absolutely. Anyway, we're going to get to our next call, and it'll be the last call of the evening. Lucy, thanks so much, and call back again. It was a great conversation.